Today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating creative experiment. It's a project built around one single powerful idea, a podcast that tells very human stories, but uses visuals that are completely, utterly empty of all life.
And that's the million-dollar question, right? How do you actually pull that off? How do you create emotion? How do you tell a story that connects with people when you've basically tied one hand behind your back, visually speaking? It sounds almost impossible, but that's where the real genius of this whole thing starts to shine.
So, here it is, the one radical rule that governs everything. No people, no animals, not even a sneaky silhouette in the distance. All we're left with are the worlds themselves. This is the core constraint, the one big decision that shapes every single thing that follows.
Okay, so what does a world like this actually look and, sound like? Let's get into the basic idea.
The whole concept is this brilliant contrast. On one hand, you're hearing a very human, very natural two-person conversation. A guy and a girl just talking about these big what-if ideas. But on the other hand, what you're seeing are these vast, beautiful, sometimes terrifying landscapes that are totally empty. The audio is all about humanity, but the visuals are all about its absence. It's such a cool idea.
Now, to make this work and not just be a random collection of images, the creators set up a really simple but totally unbreakable set of rules. You can think of it as the blueprint for their entire creative universe.
And what's so interesting is just how strict these rules are. First up, what they call visual safety. Just a flat-out ban on anything alive. No humans, no creatures, not even faces or eyes. This forces us, the audience, to project our own feelings onto the scene. Second, the visual focus. The camera is only ever pointed at the world itself. The environment literally becomes the main character. And third, the audio and video have a clear job. The host's conversation drives the topic, while the visuals show you the consequences of that topic on the world. It's a really powerful combo.
And this brings us to this key idea, environmental storytelling. You've probably seen this in video games. Instead of a character saying, "I'm scared," the world itself just feels scary. An empty city, a sky that's bending in a way it shouldn't. The environment does all the heavy lifting, narratively speaking, because our brains are just wired to find stories in empty spaces and fill in those blanks ourselves.
So, you might be wondering, okay, that's a cool blueprint, but is it a one-trick pony? Can such a rigid set of rules actually be versatile? Well, the answer is a huge yes. We're going to look at 3 totally different episodes, all built using these exact same rules.
I mean, just look at the range here. One set of rules gives you a serious science discussion, a super whimsical kids adventure, and a genuinely chilling horror story. This shows just how powerful that core concept is. So let's break each one down.
All right, first up, we have a serious, cinematic, and scientific episode. The whole vibe is dramatic, awe-inspiring, and honestly, a little bit terrifying. So you hear the audio, and it's this classic what-if scenario. But what's so clever is hearing two people just calmly discussing a world-ending event. That casual, conversational tone, set against this unimaginable disaster, kind of grounds the whole idea and makes it feel even more real and unsettling.
And while they're just chatting away, this is what you see, the consequences. You don't need to see people running and screaming to feel the immense power of this idea. The mountains literally collapsing in on themselves tell the entire story with this incredible, terrifying scale.
Okay, now let's do a complete 180 and see how these same rules can build something in a totally different direction. Using the exact same constraints, no people, no animals, we get a kids-friendly episode where the tone shifts from serious to just pure colorful fun.
You can hear the change instantly in the audio, right? It's all excitement and wonder. The language is simple, it's super visual, and it just paints this picture of a magical world with an energy that's just infectious and joyful.
And wow, do the visuals deliver on that promise. The environment itself becomes the source of all the fun. So instead of collapsing mountains, we get chocolate mountains. Instead of dark, scary oceans, we get these neon glowing ones. Same rules, totally different universe. Pretty cool.
And now for our final example. Can this format, with no monsters, no jump scares, actually create real horror? Well, the answer is yeah, and it's fascinating.
This quote right here is the key to the whole thing. It totally redefines what horror means in this context. The threat isn't some creature chasing you. The threat is the silent, empty, and just the deep wrongness of the world around you.
So how do they visualize that? Well, an empty city here isn't just an empty city. It's a place that feels deeply wrong. reflections in puddles that show a different world, a black hole quietly warping space in the distance. It is a masterclass in creating dread and that deep existential fear using nothing but the environment.
So you can see how different all these tones are, but how do they get from a simple idea to these incredible, specific worlds? It all comes down to the clarity of the instructions.
This slide just captures that process perfectly. You have a simple creative intent, kids-friendly, colorful fun, and it gets translated into a very specific, actionable instruction. That clarity is the secret sauce that allows them to generate such evocative and tonally perfect worlds every single time.
So let's zoom out for a second. What's the big takeaway from this whole case study? What does it teach us about creativity?
Well, think about it. Everything we just saw, the science, the fantasy, the horror, it was all built from just a handful of rules. In this case, just 3 main pillars: no life, environments only, and that special relationship between the audio and the visuals. Just 3.
And that right there is the most powerful takeaway. Sometimes real creativity isn't about having limitless options. It's about setting smart, simple constraints and then exploring the infinite possibilities that exist inside those rules. The limitation becomes a catalyst, not a cage.
So I'll leave you with this thought experiment. If you had to tell a story without showing a single person, focusing only on the world they left behind, or maybe a world they haven't even gotten to yet, what story would you tell?
It's a pretty fascinating thing to think about.